Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. We'll get to the JRC in a moment. First, some disclaimers. If you're unfamiliar with the Stop the Shocks campaign or the campaign against the troubled teen industry, all pertinent links can be found right there in the description box for you. That way, should you like to do a deep dive, you'll be able to go ahead and do so. Trigger warning, this channel is marked not for kids for a reason. I do use profanity. And when we talk about places like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with mental health issues and disabled people being tortured and abused. So, if you have kids who watch the channel that are 16 and younger, parental supervision very much advised, alright? Alright, where we left off. Pain compliance. It is essential that practitioners and organizations in the caring industry speak out against adversive practices such as pain compliance, restraint, and seclusion. Thank you! Because the idea of, I'm going to discipline the autism out of you has worked 0%. Okay? But corporal punishment accomplishes overall in the long term nothing. But we can restrain you until you calm down. As someone with severe PTSD who had an extremely traumatizing childhood, the side that didn't go so great because parents had to work, when someone would restrain me, when I was in the middle of a meltdown, it would cause me to become more violent, not less. Let me say that again. Anybody tries to restrain me to this day, you're going to get an explosion of violence. Because my fight or flight mechanism would just, boom, kick right in. Right in. It's not a good idea. What about just putting you alone in a room somewhere? There are multiple reasons why seclusion doesn't work. One of the biggest is, once you put someone in seclusion, especially if it's in schools, teachers will forget. There have been stories of a kid that was in a seclusion room for 7 hours straight and didn't come out until their mom noticed they weren't home from school and they didn't know what was going on. Nobody called them. Nobody told them anything. Yeah. Many former pupils have confirmed that the electric shock devices are incredibly painful. The recent task force interviewed 4 pupils at the school who, as of July 2022, were receiving CESS. All 4 students stated that the electric shocks were painful to receive, and the majority said they did not want to receive them. One resident, unsolicited and without prompting, asked the task force members to remove them from JRC. Oh God. I want you guys to think about that. Us advocates, those of us who can go there, who can talk to these people, can you even imagine the fucking heartbreak? I would fall apart. It would just shatter something in me. Because my instinct is to go in there like a mama bear, guns blazing, to get all those kids the hell out of there and every single staff member arrested. I'm not even a mom. But like an inner mama bear, I guess. Or an older sister thing. The inhumane practices at JRC have been widely spoken against by many individuals and organizations across the globe. The Autistic Self-Advocacy Network, also known as ASAN, we know them well here, have been leaders in the Stop the Shock campaign against JRC. A recent survey for Neuroclassic the same one the JRC threatened to sue them over, we've been over that, asked the public how they felt about the use of electric shock as punishment for disabled adults in 2023. So that's a new survey. The responses include, I think that it's abusive, torturous, and should be banned at all costs. Absolutely horrified and prepared to do anything in my power to make it stop. It is grossly inhumane. Electric shock should not be used as therapy, nor should any type of adversives. Some of these shots I recognize so well because I follow the majority of them and a few follow me back. I've been in it for a minute. But in the results of a recent iCars poll on X, formerly Twitter, demonstrates that 96.8% of parents who voted would not like their child to be subject to any practices being used at the JRC, not just CESS. Again, if they would have forced me in there and I'd been forced to endure that, my mom found out there would not be a single brick left on that building. My mom goes 0 to 60 when it comes to her kids. You know the term, oh hell no? Yeah, sent help. We cannot stress enough the importance of listening to lived experiences in order to inform against abusive practices such as these. Dr. Damian Milton, who has spoken extensively against aversive practices which seek to alter behaviors. In a Studio 3 web conference, Damian spoke about his opinions on aversive practices and punishments in the caring industry. In addition, Professor Andrew McDonald, CEO of Studio 3, has spoken frequently about his views on punishment. In my work, I am often asked about the role of punishment to correct behaviors. There is no doubt that sanctions and negative consequences can have an impact on the behavior of children and adults. But what do people learn in these circumstances? Exactly. What are we doing to make sure they're learning the right lessons? You can't. It's just violence. Our role is to encourage self-regulation rather than imposing external controls, which is what I was taught. Hence my breathing exercises, even some movements that are not a natural stim for me, but as I inhale, I may stretch my hands out. No, I stretch in, exhale out, that sort of thing. It gets me focused on what I'm doing instead of going into full rage mode or pure panic. Although it got to the point where those didn't work by themselves anymore, hence why I am on medication that works just fine, and I'm certainly not comatose. But anyways, it is clear that the focus on control and compliance at the JRC violates the human rights of the children and adults being supported, and is both inhumane and untherapeutic. Punishing stressed and traumatized individuals for engaging in behaviors that they need to engage in order to self-regulate has no place in caring environments. Attempts to alter behavior that is perceived to be disruptive, bad, or not typical merely forces conformity and asserts control over vulnerable people. Thank you! It's about everybody else's comfort but ours. And somehow people think that that's okay, right, normal. Hence why I say I got your normal with both birdies flying through the air. You all know what I mean. It is our role as educators, supporters, and carers to understand why a person may need to engage in certain behaviors and to constantly question our own beliefs around behavior. Punitive systems such as these, which use punishment reward schemes and restrictive practices, can not only re-traumatize individuals, but also create a lack of self-agency and independence that is essential for well-being. By inflicting physical and psychological pain, supporters destroy the ability to form safe and therapeutic relationships with individuals, which is key to supporting individuals to lead thriving, independent lives supported by their community. Wonderful organizations such as independent living centers, which I have worked with closely for decades now. Compassion and empathy are essential, which is why there is an urgent need for a unified approach from autistic advocates and professionals determined to enact change and permanently ban the application of aversive and outdated treatments such as CESS, which is why we have a very rare instance where Autism Speaks and ASAN are on the same page. I hope it's not the final sign of the apocalypse. I know, bad joke, but you guys just don't know. At each other's throats for years. Dr. William Bronston said of the JRC that the school used an unrelenting pursuit of dramatic interventions against its most powerful and powerless and undefended students. That still rings true today more than 50 years later and should be a wake-up call for organizations and individuals around the globe to ensure that these practices are not allowed to continue. And I think we should go ahead and end on that. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few we do tend to get removed from time to time. So folks, if you would be so kind, please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, don't forget to hit the comments, and make sure you are still set up to receive notifications. We are still continuing on with Down the Rabbit Hole series, as well as the Snake Oil Salesman series. We do not want you all missing anything. I do appreciate your time, and as always folks, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. I'll see you all later. Bye-bye now.